Number 3, electrocution gate. I told you a while back that several U.S. soldiers had been electrocuted in Iraq because of crappy wiring done around showers, done in at least one case by the spun-off Halliburton subsidiary, KBR. Turns out the problem was worse than anybody suspected. The Army had issued an urgent bulletin in October 2004 to commanders in Iraq warning them of the shoddy contracting work and the threat of electrocutions. Since then, at least 2 American soldiers have been killed by improper grounding of electrical wiring, and the total before October was, according to that Army bulletin, 5 fatalities. Number 2, the buck stops nowhere gate. General Ricardo Sanchez's new book, excerpted in Time magazine, giving a remarkable insight into the single worst post-invasion decision of the war. Then Defense Secretary Rumsfeld handed him a memo 2 years and 2 weeks ago today, insisting that neither he nor anyone higher in the administration had known that operations in Iraq had been shifted from the upper ranks, CENTCOM and General Tommy Franks, to the lower ranks, General Sanchez and his V Corps. Sanchez said, quote, "I knew it was total BS." And when he told Rumsfeld that, he and Rumsfeld started to shout at each other. He also mentions that before Rumsfeld showed him the historically revisionist memo, Rumsfeld mentioned he wanted Sanchez to stay on after his impending retirement and work as a civilian in the Pentagon. In other words, Rumsfeld was trying to bribe him into helping him pass the historical buck. Speaking of which, number 1, Chutzpahgate. One of the immortal bozos of the Bush administration, former chairman of the Defense Policy Board Advisory Committee Richard Pearl, writing an op-ed in the New York Times insisting that, quote, "The most important thing we can do to help the Iraqis and ourselves is to recognize and reverse the foolish and arrogant belief that we know better than the Iraqis how to rebuild their devastated society." It is a well-written and reasoned argument, headlined, "Time to Cut the Cord." The problem is, it is written by the same Richard Pearl, whose own op-ed in USA Today 5 years ago last Thursday described Iraq as, quote, "the most important military victory since World War II. It ended quickly with few civilian casualties and with little damage to Iraq's cities, towns, or infrastructure. It ended without the Arab world rising up against us, as the war's critic feared, without the quagmire they predicted. Relax and enjoy it." It has been suggested that in war, truth is the first casualty. However, in Richard Pearl's case, it obviously multiplies because these 2 op-eds could not have been in greater disagreement. Perhaps Mr. Pearl wrote the first self-congratulatory one with one of his faces, and then wrote this new hands-off one with his other face.